Chapter 131, Putting on the Agenda. As the Inferno Dragon entered the growth period, its strength had increased drastically to the 5th rank. When the Inferno Dragon reached adulthood, its strength would reach the 7th rank. On this front, the Inferno Dragon was developing through the same stages as the other dragons. However, there was one thing different. The Inferno Dragon could display more powerful abilities than dragons of the same rank. A 5th rank Inferno Dragon could easily defeat the other 6th rank beasts. Even some 6th rank beasts of the demon family that were more violent would be at a disadvantage when compared to the Inferno Dragon. For dragons, to fight creatures of higher ranks was common. Dragons that couldn't pull this off were useless. Su Ping's Inferno Dragon had spent almost all of its short childhood in the Dragon King's heritage ground. For 1/3 of this time, the Inferno Dragon had stayed inside the Dragon Pillar, confronting the attacks and threats of the Dragon King's remnant soul. For the remaining 2/3 of the time, the Inferno Dragon had been fighting against various beasts inside the Dragon Scale lands with Su Ping. While the Inferno Dragon had been born not long before, in about less than half a month, even including the time spent in the cultivation site, the Inferno Dragon had experienced hundreds of battles of various scales and had died over 100 times. Compared to the other dragons of the same growth period, the Inferno Dragon had more than 10 times the combat experience. Even some adult dragons would be inferior to the Inferno Dragon in combat experience. After all, for most dragons, they would enjoy smooth sailing after surviving the difficult period in their infancy stage. Thanks to this rich experience, the Inferno Dragon had picked many combat skills and abilities. It could defeat other Inferno Dragons of the 5th rank with ease and even be well matched against dragons of the 6th rank. If the Inferno Dragon were to compete against other average beasts, it would be within the Inferno Dragon's abilities to fight against a 7th rank beast after a fashion. Also, the 7th rank beast might not be able to defeat or kill the Inferno Dragon if the latter was committed to getting away. Su Ping cast an identification spell and saw that the Inferno Dragon's aptitude had increased a bit. With further progress, the Inferno Dragon's aptitude could reach the below-average grade. Compared to all the Inferno Dragons born since the initial chaos, Su Ping's Inferno Dragon could be regarded as excellent if it had a below-average aptitude. In addition to the Inferno Dragon, the Purple Python and the Dark Dragon Hound had experienced great changes as well. Having reached the growth stage, the Purple Python was close to 6 meters long and had reached the 4th rank as well. Pets of the combat family usually were the weakest among all pets of the same rank but of other families. But this Purple Python was different. It could even entrap and kill a beast of the element family at the intermediate position of the 5th rank. The Purple Python's purple and cyan-colored snake scales had become particularly resistant to outside forces, due to experiences accumulated in many extreme environments of the Dragon Scale lands. The Purple Python could fend off the usual attacks with fire, thunder, and poison. The Purple Python was incredibly strong as well. Generally speaking, pets of the combat family didn't have a diversified portfolio of skills other than physical strength. In regards to physical strength, the Purple Python had reached the extreme. To steal the Purple Python's resolve, Su Ping gave it the roughest treatment. He would throw the Purple Python into all kinds of fatal and extreme environments. Because of that, the Purple Python had died 400 or 500 times, more than the deaths of the other pets combined. How frequently did the Purple Python die to reach such a large number of deaths within the same period of time? The Dark Dragon Hound was in the growth period to begin with, since it had evolved from the Manigam. With 7 to 8 days of training, the Dark Dragon Hound's strength had reached the 6th rank when in reality, it could compete against a pet of the demon family at the upper position of the 7th rank. The Dark Dragon Hound alone could be a dominating presence in the Phoenix Peak Academy. After dark, Su Ping called the pet owners one by one so they could go and pick up their pets the next day. Then, he closed the store and rode back home. At home, Su Ping didn't see Su Lingyu. With the help of his astral powers, he noticed that she was cultivating in her room upstairs. It was rare for her not to provoke him, or to beat around the bush to wiggle out information. Su Ping supposed it was because she had gone to the store and had understood what she could. She knew that he wouldn't answer her even if she had other questions. Therefore, she didn't show up willingly to avoid being snubbed. Su Ping was glad not to see her. He sat down for dinner. His mom went to share some neighborhood stories with him. From this, Su Ping was sure that Su Lingyu didn't tell his mother about the store. Even though he couldn't pinpoint the reason why, he was relieved. It saved him the trouble of making up a story. After all, Li Qingru had been treating him well, and he could have treated Li Qingru the same way he treated Su Lingyu. If Li Qingru had to ask, explaining to her would be bothersome. After dinner, Su Ping headed upstairs to cultivate. A mundane night zipped by. The next day, the siblings had breakfast together and parted ways. Su Ping realized that it was Monday when he saw Su Lingyu leave for the academy. When he rode to the store, the long queue was not there. There were still some customers. About 7 or 8 were waiting for him. "Mr. Su." Those people ran to him when they saw him. It seemed that they were quite anxious. Su Ping recognized some familiar faces, but for a moment, he couldn't recall their names. He nodded and went to open the door. Su Ping reminded them, "Those who come to pick up pets line up first." 5 of the students stood in a line at once. They were all familiar with Su Ping's rules. "Mr. Su." The first one was Zhong Baoxing. After he said the name of his pet, he asked an additional question: "Are you going to give a lecture at the academy today?" The other students were eager to find out the answer as well. Su Ping shook his head. "My lecture is on Wednesday." "Oh." They were disappointed. But soon, they realized that they had dug out information about Su Ping's lecture. This was an important piece of news. For first graders, this was sensational news. After all, Su Ping's lecture was available to first graders. Su Ping took out their pets one by one. They were surprised and delighted to find the amazing progress their pets had made after some tests. After they expressed their appreciation to Su Ping, they took their pets and got into the taxi that they had ordered in advance to head to the academy. They were making use of every bit of time to come and pick up their pets before classes began. After he sent away those students, Su Ping took care of the other 3 students' pets, which made him 120,000 coins. After all the students had left, Su Ping went back inside. Just like before, he chose some pets for the dummy trainer while he headed to the Dragon King's heritage ground himself. After an hour of training, Su Ping went back to the store and chose another batch of pets to be trained by the dummy. In the meantime, he sat down in the store and poured some water to rest for a while. Not long after, someone came. Su Ping looked up. It was the young man who came to train his winged beast. Tang Lang was surprised to see this store so empty. If he didn't see Su Ping there drinking water, Tang Lang would have thought he had entered the wrong place, or that the store had been rented to someone else. "Sir, why is there no one here today?" Su Ping raised his eyebrows. "They have classes today. Don't you know?" Tang Lang stood there for a second before he realized that it was indeed Monday. He had time to visit because he had asked for a sick leave from school. Tang Lang changed to a courteous tone and asked, "Sir, can you train my pet again?" Su Ping nodded. "Give me the money first." Tang Lang was happy that Su Ping did not reject him. The former paid the 100,000 and called out his winged beast. "Sir, can you train advanced pets here?" While Tang Lang handed the winged beast to Su Ping, he threw out another question carefully. While he knew the answer, he was still hoping. If Su Ping was willing, he could have his best pet trained by Su Ping. "Not right now," Su Ping answered. Tang Lang was intrigued. "Then, when will you be able to?" Su Ping raised his eyebrows. He wanted to start training advanced pets more than anyone. Unfortunately, the service remained unlocked because he had not trained a pet that could reach an above-average aptitude. "It seems that I must put preparing for professional training on the agenda," Su Ping said to himself. He answered the young man's question right after, "I cannot decide the date at the moment. But I suppose within a month at the latest." Tang Lang's eyes glowed. Within a month? If that time could be shortened, then he could enjoy this service before the start of the Elite League, right? The Elite League would last for 3 months. The selections and procedures were incredibly complicated. At the beginning stages, he could get by with his pets. If later on, Su Ping's store could offer training for advanced pets, he would be more likely to stand out. Chapter 132, Another Skill Book. After sending Tang Lang away, Su Ping threw the trembling winged beast inside the nursing space. There were currently many pets in the shop waiting to be handed over to their owners. Still, Su Ping had to wait for the school to end. This wasn't a big problem since there weren't many customers during the day anyway. While he waited, he simply had to use dummy trainers to train several remaining pets still waiting inside the nursing pens to free up his schedule. He summoned the system shop window to see what kind of items were being offered that day. To his disappointment, he didn't find any force pellets or beast-catching rings. A book at the edge of the window caught his attention. It was a skill book. What's this? Intermediate Pet Food Appraisal. This was the first time he had seen the system shop sell a skill book. It seemed this one was not a battle pet warrior-only skill, but more of a supportive tool. It would cost him 10,000 energy points. Does the shop sell skills for pets? He asked the system in his mind. Affirmative. That was some exciting news, even though the system made it sound dull and unemotional. A middle-rank pet skill book was worth quite a fortune. He looked at the refresh button and decided to give it a try. Since he could earn a few dozen thousand energy points daily, spending 100 points was not that much. Before that, however, he chose to purchase the appraisal skill first. He was still using the basic one he received from the system for free, which was far from enough if he wanted to identify better foodstuffs in cultivation planes. He did have some expensive items on the shelves, not because he knew what they were, but because he had randomly brought them back due to their colorful looks. With this intermediate pet food appraisal, he would be able to scavenge for better stuff while he trained pets. Using 10,000 energy points for such a skill was completely worthwhile. As long as the description of the book was correct, he would be able to use it to identify most edibles and cooking materials he could find. He bought the book, refreshed the store, and was glad to find a middle-rank beast-catching ring among the 5 new items offered. This meant the 100 energy points had been well spent. He decided to keep going. The slot with the beast-catching ring presented him with another book named Astral Telekinesis, Basic. It was a skill intended for battle pet warriors. Su Ping paid 5,000 energy points for the book without a second thought. As soon as he did, he felt his brain become overwhelmed by a sudden flood of knowledge that kept his full attention. He didn't know how much time elapsed when he was out. By the time he came to, he had been focusing solely on the new skill he learned, and it made him feel uncontrollably excited. It was a powerful skill, not any lesser than killing intent, if not better. Despite being defined as basic by the system, it would work wonders if used in the right situations. Simply put, astral telekinesis allowed Su Ping to manipulate objects remotely by using his astral power. He had heard about something similar before, which was how titled battle pet warriors could unleash their unparalleled astral powers to directly control or even destroy objects in their sights. This was supposed to be an exclusive ability to titled warriors, which also served as a divider, signifying their superior strength over weaker warriors. Ordinary battle pet warriors might know how to send their astral power away from their bodies to create astral runes, which in turn indirectly affected their pets. Yet they could not move or control objects in such a way. Thrilled, Su Ping followed the instructions he had just learned and commanded his astral power to pick up an empty food bowl on the counter. He succeeded without a problem. If anyone else would have been there to watch, they would have seen the bowl floating in midair without anyone supporting it. The simple control was not enough to inflict damage on objects like titled warriors could. But it was a start. Su Ping knew he could steadily improve the skill until he could use it as a deadly attack in the future. And it's only a basic skill. Perhaps I can use this to fool people as long as they don't ask me to do more than moving stuff around. He went to the pet room and found the biggest pets he kept in the shop. Without minding their complaining looks, he used astral telekinesis to lift them off the floor. He only managed to keep 3 of them slightly above ground, then he felt his astral power was being strained to its limit. He checked the floating pets and gauged that the heaviest object he could carry should be around 3,000 kilograms, which was pretty impressive. After sending the startled pets back to their nursing pens, Su Ping returned to the front room, sweating. This is awesome. Such a force was not enough to penetrate the defense of hard-skinned astral pets if he simply used it to punch them. But what if he applied the same force onto a needle? He found a random stone outside the door and hurled it against a tree beside the shop. Using his enhanced eyesight, he saw a brief shadow flash leave behind the flying stone, before a small crater appeared in the middle of the tree trunk with a palm. Such a result was to be expected since that stone looked pretty fragile. He might do better if he used something made of metal. Man, if I ambushed someone with this, they would never know what hit them. Previously, Suping thought he was good enough to stand against titled battle pet warriors with the help of Little Skeleton. Then he realized he was being too naive. A real titled warrior who could ambush him from a distance would kill him before he had a chance to react. And it made him worry. It wasn't like he was being targeted by a hostile titled warrior right then, but nobody knew if some kind of misfortune would drag him into such a deadly situation someday. He had to know how to defend himself better before that happened. I need to work on my solar bulwark. As long as I get it to the 2nd rank, a stray bullet from a titled warrior would be unable to penetrate my body that easily. He returned to the shop and called up the system menu again. It would be for the best if he could find several force pellets to buy. Wait, 500 energy points. His action froze up when he saw the number displayed beside the refresh button. The system spoke in his head, only the first 2 refreshing attempts of each day would cost 100 points. The price will increase from there. The foo! It's like some kind of cheap, knockoff mobile game, isn't it? Where did the system learn about these terrible things? He sighed and decided to take the gamble. 500 didn't sound so much as long as he could find something good. Or not. The store showed him 5 pieces of junk. He checked the button again. The next refresh would cost him 1,000 points this time. He spat and closed the menu. That was his limit. From then on, he'd remember to refresh the shop 3 times each day. Or only twice, if he was short on energy. He still needed a lot of energy points to level up the shop and the incubation pool. He couldn't afford to waste too many points on a game of luck. Since there was still some time before the academy freed the students, Suping closed up the shop so he could spend some time inside the Dragon King's heritage ground. While exploring, he did his best to practice his astral telekinesis against monsters. After many victories and inevitable deaths, he gradually perfected the accuracy of the skill until he became pretty good at shooting. 2 days had passed, during which Suping's name became increasingly known at the Phoenix Peak Academy. As his customers recommended his shop to their friends, who further spread his name to the others in their community, almost the entire academy was made aware of the expensive yet effective training services he provided. As soon as the school ended, crowds of students would all rush to his shop. And if it was the weekend, the outside of the shop would become packed with people in the early morning instead. While dealing with his business at a steady pace, Suping used what time he could spare to train his own pets, who all grew rapidly under his care. Soon, it was time for him to present another lesson at the academy. That day, after doing some necessary work and having lunch, he rode to the Phoenix Peak Academy at about 2 in the afternoon. The lesson had been scheduled at 3 according to Dong Mingsung's plan. Half an hour later, he arrived at the gate of the academy and saw 8 people standing at the entrance while looking at the phoenix statue. They all looked like students, which was strange, because students should be inside the academy right then. He didn't care though. Heading to his class was more important. "Hey, you, hold up," one of the students saw him coming and called him to a stop, probably because he also looked like a student who arrived at the academy at a very wrong time. Suping hit the brakes and looked that way. "Dude, there's this Yi Hao studying in your academy, right? I heard he's pretty good. Do you know him?" A young man with a crew cut yelled at him in an unpleasant way. "These guys are not from here?" "No. Don't know him." Suping shook his head. Yi Hao did pay him money to reserve his services, though that hardly made them acquaintances. He didn't have much to say about Yi Hao if that was what these people wanted to ask. Chapter 133. Clash Between Academies. "You don't." The crew cut guy frowned and stepped in front of Suping's bicycle, before he put a foot on the front wheel. He used so much force that the frame of the wheel squeaked terribly under the pressure. "Kid, Yi Hao is the yearly tournament champion of your academy, and you're telling me you don't know him? Don't give me that *T. The offender looked as if he wanted to pull his hands out of his pockets and punch Suping already. But he was stopped by one of his companions, who called to him with a cold voice, "Don't cause trouble, Dai Yang." Dai Yang frowned again and stepped away, after which he gave Su Ping a threatening stare. "Don't mess with me like that, kid, or I'll show you." That was a bluff. He knew that he probably wouldn't meet this random student from another academy again. Su Ping didn't answer because he had been checking his wheel. Next, he slowly looked up and glared at the crew cut man. "Here? What YA looking at?" The man didn't get to finish his words when his body left the ground, before being slammed back down by an invisible force as if a wrestler was pummeling him. It happened too fast that he never had any time to prepare his astral power to defend his body. He coughed up a puddle of blood under the shock and gasped for air on the floor. Su Ping looked elsewhere and rode away. Someone had damaged his bike, so he wanted some payback. As simple as that. Dai Yang's partners were still recovering from what they had just seen. Dai Yang was one of their stronger members, yet he got squashed under a second without anyone touching him? "You stop right there." A shorter, plump-bodied man rushed behind Su Ping. Su Ping scowled impatiently and looked back, only to see all 7 of them rushing to surround him. Dai Yang exhaled a painful breath while resting on the shoulder of his friend. He gave Su Ping a hateful stare. "Playing dirty with me, heh?" He didn't see Su Ping moving at all. The only explanation he could think of was that Su Ping used some kind of secret move. Meanwhile, the other 7 people carefully inspected Su Ping from head to toe. If Su Ping could beat up Dai Yang so badly, even by using hidden tricks, they wouldn't treat him lightly. A man with a bulky build spoke next. "You be quiet, Dai Yang. We came to prepare for the coming contest, not to pick up fights. People will laugh at us if anyone saw you getting crushed at the front door of their academy." Crush? He was the one playing dirty tricks first. "What would you do in my shoes, here?" Dai Yang yelled back. Getting ambushed so easily only means that you're weak." The bulky man looked at Su Ping again. "You, tell me your name. I'll challenge you." Seeing their strong friend making such a decision, the others silently gave Su Ping a sympathetic look. By then, Su Ping more or less knew what these people were doing, which was not his concern. "I'm in a hurry here. Move along. You hit our guy, and you want to get away with it." The bulky man gave Su Ping a mocking smile while not moving out of his way. Su Ping sighed. "Trouble never ends, eh?" He hopped off the bicycle, parked it aside, and turned around to look at the group of students who probably came from another academy in the city. He soon found the biggest threat, which wasn't the big man talking to him, but another man in white who looked rather handsome by normal standards. This man was inconspicuously showing a high level of astral power. Also, he was the one who tried stopping the crew cut guy back there. "Say, if I win, will the rest of you come up one by one and waste my time?" Su Ping spoke to the bulky figure addressing him. Several of them laughed at that, while the bulky man raised an eyebrow in bewilderment. "You got guts, kid. Do you think you can actually?" Su Ping interrupted him with great impatience. "Yes or no? Just tell me already." "You little." The bulky man grew furious as several blood vessels dangerously pulsed on his neck. "Is this how Phoenix Peak Academy acts? They're a fun bunch, you know that," a man teased. "Yeah. Are all the students like this guy? Cute. Hey, bear? He doesn't give a *t about why, see that? I never thought I'd see something like this in my life, ha. Oi kid. Do your worst. If you can beat up Bear, I'll have some fun with you next." Su Ping shook his head while listening to the unproductive gibberish. Then he looked at the man in white, who had remained quiet all this time. "Can you tell me? If I deal with this big one, will you leave me alone?" Luo Fengtian wasn't expecting Su Ping to suddenly talk to him. He saw Su Ping's serious look and felt something was off. "No, I'm afraid not." "For the love of, fine. Hey, you lots. Come at me together, will you? Don't keep me waiting." Su Ping's careless words silenced everyone. Together? They thought Su Ping was being cocky enough by speaking to their bulky partner so rudely. They weren't expecting for things to take another turn for the worse. They were the top 8 of their academy when it came to fighting. Someone wished to challenge them to a group fight alone? This was so stupid. Every one of them looked pissed off when Su Ping taunted all of them so openly, including Dai Yang, who couldn't believe that such a madman had just wounded him. Chapter 134, Brutality. "Kid, do you even know who you're talking to?" a young man with short hair said, his face clouded. The other good-looking young man bellowed, "Why are you wasting time here? I will write my name Wang Mucho backward if we don't beat the hell out of him." "Knock it off. Kid, go ahead." The bulky young man's eyes were filled with chilling coldness. He paid no heed to his pals. Astral powers surged out of him violently. He didn't make any moves, and yet, patterns indicating augmentation skills knitted with astral powers seeped out from all around his body and covered him up. This mastery of augmentation astral patterns was enough to demonstrate the power of a star student at school. Since the bear was being serious, the other students stopped joking around. They stepped back to leave enough room for the bear. Su Ping challenged them to attack him together. However, those students would not gang up against a nobody when they were so much more powerful. They would humiliate their academy by doing so, and people would laugh their heads off. While Dai Yang walked back, he snarled savagely, "Teach him a lesson." The others stood about 7 to 8 meters away. They watched Su Ping with cool-hearted eyes, waiting for him to beg for mercy. Su Ping was not happy since the others were stepping away. He had made his intention perfectly clear. Why would they want to fight him one by one? This was a waste of time. "Come on. Do it." The bulky young man growled at Su Ping, who remained still. The bulky young man would not be so arrogant if he were facing Yi Hao. However, apart from that Yi Hao, there was no worthy opponent as the bulky young man saw it. Besides, he was ready. He told Su Ping to make the first move to show the latter that having a head start would be of no use to him. Su Ping cast his eyes on him. Coldness rose in his eyes. "Piss off." He didn't even lift his hand. Hardly had his voice faded away when the bulky young man was knocked away and smashed into the person behind him. This person was a star student as well. He reacted fast. After the initial shock that lasted for a mere instant, he raised his hands to catch the bulky young man. However, the heavy force spread across from the bulky young man surprised him. He carried the bulky man in his hands and was forced backward several steps before he managed to stabilize himself and stop. Everything happened in a split of a second. Everyone was watching, but none of them saw how Su Ping did it. What? They all stood there, dumbstruck. For all this time, Luo Fengtian's expressions remained unchanged. But at this moment, surprise froze on his face. Soon, something came to his mind that frightened him. But he dismissed that idea quickly. After all, Su Ping appeared to be quite young. Which student could reach that level at such a young age? If a student could make this accomplishment, then that student could win the championship of the Global Elite League without participating in any match. Completely stupefied, the bulky young man stared at Su Ping, who was so close to him just a second ago but was over 10 meters away right then. The bulky young man didn't see Su Ping take action, either. In that previous moment, he felt a state of weightlessness. By the time he came back to his senses, there was no place that he could hold on to. He couldn't avoid being knocked away. If it weren't for that person that caught him, he would have fallen embarrassingly. After a short moment of silence, the bulky young man finally felt his feet touch the ground. He was still in shock because Su Ping's attack was utterly strange. In this one round alone, the bulky young man was at a disadvantage. Evidently, he was facing a formidable opponent, not someone that was slightly better than the average student that they had thought. "I didn't know that apart from Yi Hao, we could find a brutal guy like you in the Phoenix Peak Academy." The bulky young man collected himself. Instead of retreating, he was burning with the desire to fight and his blood was boiling. He took one step forward and the ground was trembling. The pet space opened up in front of him rapidly. A clawed golden bear landed on the ground. This was a pet that had an 8th rank bloodline. Right then, this clawed golden bear had reached the upper position of the 5th rank and was quite aggressive. Roar! As soon as the clawed golden bear came out, it received a clear sense of its master's wrath. The clawed golden bear bellowed at Su Ping. The loud roar was brimming with rage and threat. A bear roar was an average skill of deterrent nature. Nevertheless, this skill could still terrorize weaker pets of the same rank. The sound of this roar was loud and clear. Su Ping felt the tranquil pool of blood inside of him was disturbed slightly. What he felt at the cultivation sites was woken up. That feeling of madness and killing free from inhibitions. He would not mind death, nor harm, just to kill. Su Ping didn't realize this himself, but the look in his eyes had changed. Instead of a normal, restrained look, his eyes had changed to what they would look like when he fought battles in the cultivation sites. Cold, bloodthirsty, cruel, and indifferent. It was as if those eyes looked down on all life forms, as if none of them mattered. The clawed golden bear that had just finished roaring established eye contact with its game. The anger in its simple mind was frozen by something. An unspeakable feeling of danger gave the clawed golden bear a chilly feeling. The clawed golden bear felt such danger that it wanted to turn and run away with its master. While the clawed golden bear remained still, Su Ping made his move. He didn't summon any pets. He stomped on the ground and shot himself out like a human-sized cannon. He was so fast that his speed could match a pet of the 5th rank with a particular skill in speed. With lightning speed, Su Ping had reached the clawed golden bear. The clawed golden bear was well within his reach. Their faces almost rubbed against each other. One was a good-looking human face and the other face had a huge bear mouth with sharp fangs. Anyone would believe that the human should be the one afraid. Yet, fear was found in the bear's face. Those sharp fangs were shaking. Bang! Su Ping punched out instantly. His move was violent as he punched the clawed golden bear's belly. With some cracking sound of bones breaking, the clawed golden bear hunched its back. Its internal organs must have ruptured. Amid many battles of different magnitude, Su Ping had become rather familiar with the physical structure of beasts. With one punch, he had badly mauled the clawed golden bear and disabled it. But this wasn't a fatal death. If he were aiming for the kill, Su Ping would have hacked below the clawed golden bear's neck with his hand. His nails were sharper than knives and he could tear open skins and pierce into opponents' heads with his nails. He put down his hand. The clawed golden bear had not fallen. It was still shaking. Taking advantage of this moment, Su Ping went past the clawed golden bear and reached the bulky young man. The bulky young man had not realized that had happened. When he saw Su Ping, the bulky young man was taken aback. Then, out of fear, the bulky young man raised his hand to defend himself. But Su Ping was faster. Taking advantage of the window of time when the bulky young man was raising his hands, Su Ping grabbed the bulky young man by the neck. Then Su Ping threw the young man away. The latter was smashed into another person nearby. Those whose sights were not blocked by the clawed golden bear witnessed what had happened and they were appalled. How did Su Ping defeat a 5th-rank clawed golden bear with his bare hands? The clawed golden bear was a pet known for its brute force and strong defense. Among pets of the same rank, clawed golden bears could be regarded as remarkable. The young man called Bear had been devoting much effort to train this clawed golden bear. Even though the clawed golden bear was at the 5th rank, it could compete against a pet at the upper position of the 6th rank. How could such a pet fall under the impact of one punch from Su Ping? What was that? This method of combat was utterly odd. Generally speaking, battle pet warriors should hide behind pets to assist them, right? Since when would battle pet warriors beat up pets themselves? Standing on the side, Luo Fengtian was astonished. What happened just then disrupted his worldview. No average student could defeat a 5th-rank clawed golden bear with his bare hands. Luo Fengtian would find this acceptable if Su Ping were an 8th-rank battle pet warrior. But Su Ping appeared to be of their age. There was no way he was an 8th-rank battle pet warrior. Could it be that Su Ping was one of those body skill battle pet warriors that were few and far between and unpopular? But, hadn't body skill battle pet warriors died out? There was little time for Luo Fengtian to indulge in his thoughts. Even Bear had been defeated by Su Ping. Luo Fengtian had to solve the matter himself. Otherwise, they would be too ashamed to enter the gate of the Phoenix Peak Academy if they were defeated right outside the gate when they had been invited for an academic exchange. Whoosh! Luo Fengtian released the astral powers that he had been hiding. He unleashed his full power. Faced with a powerful enemy like Su Ping, to fake any longer would mean to court death. When he released his astral powers in full, the others around him were shocked. The strength of his astral powers had reached the 6th rank. They were from the same school and Luo Fengtian had reached the 6th rank. One more rank forward and Luo Fengtian would become an advanced battle pet warrior. With a 6th rank strength, Luo Fengtian could be comparable to some senior elite explorers. The number of advanced battle pet warriors was small in the entire base city. As for 8th rank battle pet warriors, the number was within the 2 digits. Chapter 135, The Might of a Dragon. I'm taking you on next. Luo Fengtian fully exposed his astral power and summoned his pet space. An astral vortex rose from his chest, from which a symbolic roar that suggested a formidable dragon monster was heard. A dragon's head slowly emerged from the vortex, followed by its glossy neck protected by lustrous black scales and spikes. By the time its entire body had moved out of the pet space, the creature had blocked most sunlight from everyone with its large wings. It was an adult dragon-type astral pet. To be precise, it was a black pit dragon, one of the stronger species among all dragon types who loved feeding on wounded prey that were still breathing. Luo Fengtian's teammates were clearly not strangers to the dragon, who only looked a bit surprised by Luo Fengtian's decision. Then they quickly retreated somewhere farther so they didn't get hurt by whatever was coming next. Su Ping felt the mighty aura of the dragon and also looked that way, though the impassive killing intent in his eyes never went away. He had defeated countless dragon souls created by a dragon king in the Dragon Tower, all of whom carried doughty auras as deadly as the one he felt from this black dragon, if not stronger. Using his experience, Su Ping quickly recognized the black pit dragon as a 7th rank astral pet. But unlike Yi Hao's thunder basilisk, this dragon possessed a far superior bloodline. "Lewis, are you sure about this?" A man watching nearby stuttered, "Someone's gonna die." He immediately stepped down in fear when he saw the dragon looking at him. Luo Fengtian didn't answer, for he had to stay fully concentrated in order to hold his black pit dragon under control. "I'll give you one chance to surrender and apologize," he told Su Ping in a low voice. Su Ping looked away from the dragon and gazed at Luo Fengtian. He was confident that he could take down Luo Fengtian by force. But that would prove to be difficult with the dragon in the way. The rational nature of a battle pet warrior soon kicked in, telling him the correct course of action. With a flicker of his mind, Su Ping's pet space opened up, by which time all people present heard a dragon roar once again, which surprised them more than the last time. They saw another dragon head entering their view from Su Ping's pet space, which looked as ferocious as the black dragon. Although this one had smaller, crimson scales that looked like agate gems instead. As soon as the second dragon reached the exterior, the entire ground outside the academy gate was bathed under a strong smell of blood, as if a brutal war had just passed through the ground. Quaked as the dragon landed its claws on the ground. It then spread its red wings and aroused a forceful gale mixed with the smell of blood and sulfur that infiltrated everyone's nostrils. The inferno dragon lifted its head higher and howled into the sky, causing several stray embers to come off its scaled body. Those brave enough to watch stared in awe as they both admired and feared one of the strongest dragon-type astral pets known to that day. No one had recently checked the dragon ranking list, though they were sure an inferno dragon was better than a black pit dragon. Dragons were already rare in this world. Being one rank lower meant a black pit dragon would fall very far behind when it came to direct confrontations. This was already proven as the black pit dragon no longer looked proud and noble against the presence of a rival. Currently, it was silently gazing at the Inferno Dragon as carefully as it could. As soon as the Inferno Dragon fully left Su Ping's pet space, the Black Pit Dragon braced itself in fear. Its loose and slackened scales were firmly clasped against its skin. This was a typical reaction of dragons who felt threatened. Luo Fengtian, on the other hand, had his solid stance completely broken down as he saw what was happening. Before this day, he thought that his Black Pit Dragon had no rivals in the entire Longjiang city. With its help, he could do whatever he saw fit as long as he didn't provoke a legendary pet warrior. But he just saw otherwise. He knew an Inferno Dragon was rarer, mightier, and more precious compared to his Black Dragon. Since both dragons were adults, they didn't need to fight to know the result. Since it was known by humans, the status and strengths of dragons were always highly restricted by their social ranks, rather than their growth and techniques. A lower dragon had zero chances of fighting against a superior one. They either backed away, or became food. The field remained quiet for a long while as nobody made a sound. Whereas the Black Pit Dragon was still assessing the situation warily, the Inferno Dragon appeared rather relaxed. More like, it had not attacked just because Su Ping didn't allow it to yet. The Inferno Dragon spent most of its early days under the constant pressure of a Dragon King's soul. A mere Black Pit Dragon was nothing to be afraid of. Right then, the visiting students could only hear their own heartbeats, as they madly questioned what was going on in front of their eyes. They did their research before coming, yet they never found anything about an Inferno Dragon. If a student in this academy owned an Inferno Dragon, then how did Yi Hao become the champion? As one, they reached the same conclusion, that Su Ping had to be a secret weapon of the Phoenix Peak Academy. By some terrible coincidence, they happened to bump into such a scary foe. Even their boss was hopeless on this occasion. They probably wouldn't win even if they confronted this Inferno Dragon together. And it wasn't like such a victory was something worth talking about, if they somehow made it through. Of course, Dai Yang was the most regretful soul, blaming his foolish actions at the back of his team. He only hoped that everything would pass quickly so they would all forget about it. He didn't know what his other friends thought, but he was willing to give up his ego just to get out of there. Luo Fengtian was the first one to break the silence. That handsome and confident look of his was replaced by that of a complete defeat. "I lost. We are sorry." Meanwhile, he recalled his Black Pit Dragon. The dragon never liked the narrow pet space, but right at that moment, it chose to dive back inside without a second thought. Su Ping looked around and saw everyone dodging his gaze, which meant he was finally free to leave. Sigh. Why must people talk things through with violence? He couldn't say he liked it. But that was how this world worked. Su Ping shook his head, called back his Inferno Dragon, and left on his bicycle. The front gate of the academy was again peaceful, provided that people didn't mind the cracked floor, the wounded bear and its master, who didn't look well either. The students looked at Su Ping's totally innocuous image and couldn't help but tremble again. One of them spoke to Luo Fengtian with chattering teeth. "Boss? Will we still participate in their pet contest?" Those words almost made everyone jump. Pet contest? They didn't even know whether they could stand in front of that Inferno Dragon without flinching. Luo Fengtian's cheek twitched, he didn't answer. As the students took some time wallowing about their saddening defeat, a luxurious-looking vehicle entered their view and stopped in front of the academy gate. 3 figures stepped off from the car: a white-haired man near his 60s, a middle-aged man in a plain uniform suit, and a young teenage lady wearing a casual, denim top who was smiling sweetly. The students quickly went out of their way to address them. "Mr. Vice Principal." "Hello, Director." The old man returned a kind smile. "Sorry to keep you waiting, my boys. Do your best over there. I'll be cheering." The encouraging words further contributed to their embarrassment. Chapter 136, Questioned. The old man saw his students looking quite dispirited and felt something was off. Though he didn't question the reason, it was just right for young people to feel stressed before a contest. "Wait," the middle-aged man looked around the area with a strange look. "Why do I sense a dragon aura? And what happened to the floor?" The students checked the broken bricks and everyone looked at Luo Fengtian again. With a sad look, Luo Fengtian explained what just happened in great detail. By the end of his story, the new visitors were all staring at him with open jaws. "An Inferno Dragon?" The girl was the first one to yell out, "Are you sure about it?" The entire Longjiang city would have heard about such a famous astral pet overnight if a citizen had one, which was not the case right then. Luo Fengtian didn't respond, but his look was enough of an answer. The old man and his companions exchanged several looks. They knew Luo Fengtian wasn't someone who told lies. Not to mention that there were 7 more students backing those words up. "Who is that man?" the middle-aged man asked with knitted eyebrows. "Our informants couldn't have overlooked such a young genius." The students froze up upon such a question. Once they thought about it, they never bothered to ask who Su Ping was. They got destroyed by someone they didn't even know. The awkwardness intensified. The middle-aged man immediately realized what was going on with his students, and he wasn't happy about it. The old man checked the phoenix statue over the gate, but without a kind smile this time. "Since we're here, we might as well go inside and find out who this brilliant young man is. Shall we?" No one objected. The rain has stopped and the fishy are happy. On his bike, Su-ping traveled through a familiar path while humming a small melody. He had already placed the annoying event in the back of his mind and found his good mood coming back. Soon, he reached Dong Mingsung's office and saw the old man making hot tea in the room. Which venue should I use today? Su-ping entered the door without knocking. Dong Mingsung was briefly surprised by the unannounced entrance. Have a seat, my boy. The same one as the last time. Did you make enough preparations? Preparations? Oh, I'm good. Good. Telling from your previous lesson, there's no need for me or Miss Luo to help you deal with undisciplined students. It just so happens that I have several important guests coming soon, so I won't be joining your lesson today. Sure. Su-ping nodded. Personally, he didn't wish to waste people's time either. When his guests were mentioned, Dong Mingsong suddenly remembered something. He said, "You know, winter vacation is close ahead. With the help of the principal, I managed to invite a group of students of the Berserking Blade Academy so we can hold a friendly pet contest between us. Care to take a look?" Pet contest. Su-ping just realized that those guests happened to be the ones he had just beaten up at the gate. Oh, no, thanks. You know me. I don't have time. A pet contest between common students was only child's play in his view anyway. Dong Mingsong didn't expect such a quick denial. Come on, boy, I know you need to tend to your shop. But you can't stay there all day long. You'll get rusty. I'm not made of scrap. I don't rust. Well, I mean. Su-ping checked the clock and stood up. I'm off to class, mister. Bye. Dong Mingsong saw him leaving so soon and could only shake his head. So unruly. And such a pity. Su-ping found his bike again and went to the designated venue prepared for his lesson. He decided not to use the main entrance after seeing how big a crowd was waiting there. He didn't want to cause an accident which would perhaps result in several wounded students if people got too excited. He turned toward the back door. A teacher watching over the back door saw him coming, and just like everyone else who saw his young look for the first time, this man was also stunned by his UN scholarly image. Professor Su, please come in. Su-ping went backstage. Across the curtain, he saw the venue already crowded with chattering students. It was only his second lesson in the academy. He still kind of enjoyed it. It seemed there were many students who had shown up not to hear his lesson, but to take a look at his Inferno Dragon after hearing the rumors. As scheduled, several guards closed the doors, denying entrance to a lot of people who were too late. But still, these people, including several groups of senior students, could still hear Su-ping through several street speakers. Su-ping walked onto the main stage and signaled everyone to stop applauding, then he continued from where he left off last time. That day, he was going to show the students several specific tricks for either feeding or dealing with commonly seen undead-type astral pets. This was undeniably valuable knowledge, especially to those who used undead-type pets. The duration of one lesson was usually not enough for the students to learn many things, not to mention that what Su-ping told them was pretty uncommon and it wasn't universally useful to everyone. Many of the listeners who didn't own any undead pets or those who didn't attend specifically for the lesson quickly lost patience. Half an hour later, a man raised a hand, then Su-ping gave him the chance to speak up. Professor, we heard that you have an Inferno Dragon. Can we take a look? Many more students mumbled their approval. This was the reason why they showed up that day. Su-ping frowned at the irrelevant question. Tell me, what can you learn from it if I show you my pet? The standing student was taken aback since he never expected such a question. What could they learn? The truthfulness of the rumor, of course. And maybe satisfy their curiosity while they were at it. Of course, that wasn't a proper answer. Su-ping shook his head and asked the student to sit down. If any of you came just to look at my Inferno Dragon, I highly recommend that you look up its picture on the net instead of coming here, so you can give your precious seats to those who actually want to study. This lesson is meant to teach you undead-related knowledge, understand? That particular student and many people who fit that bill all looked down in embarrassment. They never thought this new teacher would lecture them so openly on such an occasion. The second part of the lesson came to an end, after which Su-ping said his goodbyes and walked away. Irritated, the students who failed to see his inferno dragon claimed that the rumors were unfounded, and that this new teacher was not worth their time. Some people even said that Su Ping focused on undead-type pets just because no one would notice if he said something wrong. Chapter 137, Standing Out for Him. Su Lingyu went to the lecture as well. She was there before she knew it, even though she didn't have a pet of the undead family. She was disappointed and sorry that she didn't see the inferno dragon. When they were leaving, she heard some students near her spread groundless gossip, which enraged her. She berated them, "What are you talking about? How is that any of your business if he has a dragon pet or not? Even if he didn't have one, he would still be more powerful than you. Don't speak evil words here." The students that were unhappy about Su Ping were surprised. When they saw that it was Su Lingyu, those students swallowed their resentment. Su Lingyu to the first graders was Yi Hao to the third graders. She was the bully. That being said, those students were ashamed to be scolded like this even though they knew how strong Su Lingyu was, and that they weren't her opponent. One of the girls frowned and said, "That is the truth. Can we not speak of the truth?" "You can, but you're not worthy enough to do so." Su Lingyu glared at her coldly. That girl was frightened by Su Lingyu's presence. She ground her teeth in anger. "Su Lingyu, don't think you can do whatever you want just because you're the champion of grade 1. I do whatever I want? How dare you use those words? I will send you to the school clinic if I hear you gossiping again." Su Lingyu's voice was still chilly. "Never mind. Let's go. Don't provoke her." The other students were afraid to say more. They dragged that girl away with them. Su Lingyu looked away as they left. Still, she looked awful and felt frustrated. Soon, she came back to her senses because her emotions had surprised her. Why would she be so angry when people were talking about that mean guy? This realization fueled her anger even more. Damn it! At the same time, at the Office of Academic Studies. Not long after Su Ping left, Luo Fengtian and the other students went to Dong Mingsung's office with the old man, the middle-aged man, and the young, charming girl. Dong Mingsong went to them with a big smile as his guests arrived. He asked the old man to sit down on the couch, then he poured him a cup of tea and said, "Why didn't you let me know that you were coming? I should have greeted you at the entrance." Zhu Yunshan sat down and replied with a smile, "You don't have to do that. We know the way." Dong Mingsong laughed and indulged in a bit of small talk. Zhu Yunshan observed Dong Mingsong but failed to see anything out of place. He was wondering if Dong Mingsong was faking it or if he had no idea of what had happened by the gate. Zhu Yunshan believed it was most likely the second explanation. After all, the incident had happened not long before and they had shown up unannounced. That young man was most likely attending a class and would probably not tell Dong Mingsong about that incident himself. As he thought this, Zhu Yunshan relaxed himself and said some words with underlying meaning to Dong Mingsong. "Dong, there's so much I don't know about you." Dong Mingsong was not expecting this. "What do you mean? We two are of similar strength, right?" Zhu Yunshan made a bar sound and laughed. "Don't think that I don't know about your secrets." "Secrets?" Dong Mingsong was surprised. Something changed on his face. He picked up his cup of tea and took a sip because suddenly, he felt his mouth was parched and his tongue scorched. "What secrets do I have? Let's see how many lies you can make up." Zhu Yunshan sneered. "Our students met that person, just outside your gate." "Outside the gate?" Dong Mingsong changed his steady countenance for fear. Even the teacup trembled in his hand. "That person is here." "What?" Zhu Yunshan was slightly stunned. He felt this conversation had made a strange turn. Isn't that person supposed to be here? Where else would that person go? Dong Mingsong glared at him. How would that be normal? How could that person come to school? If people were to find out. Zhu Yunshan felt something was off in Dong Mingsong's reaction. The former frowned. He stopped beating around the bush and said, "Answer me this. What's his name? Which grade?" "The name is Yi Hong." Halfway through his sentence, Dong Mingsong noticed something didn't add up. Which grade? All of a sudden, he knew where he went wrong. He blushed a bit and cleared his throat. "What are you talking about? I misunderstood." "You sly fox. Quit pretending. Your words have already slipped out. Ju Yunchan was enraged. He slapped on the table. Yi Hong is the name, right? Tell him to wait. How can he walk away after he beat up my students? This is outrageous. Is this how Phoenix Peak Academy treats its guests? Dong Mingsong knew Ju Yunchan had misunderstood him. At the same time, Dong Mingsong was curious about what Ju Yunchan was referring to. What do you mean about him beating up your students and walking away? Dong Mingsong threw a glance at the students standing in a line in the office. Those students, that middle-aged man, and the young and charming lady were still standing there. Dong Mingsong didn't see anyone injured there. Ju Yunchan snorted, leaned against the sofa, and said, "Fengyin, tell Vice Principal Dong." Luo Fengtian wished not to retell the story again, but since Ju Yunchan had required him to do so, he had no other choice. Heaving a sigh to himself, Luo Fengtian gave another rendition of this ugly story. Dong Mingsong appeared to be surprised after hearing Luo Fengtian. Startled, Dong Mingsong asked, "Did you say Inferno Dragon?" "Him, still pretending." Ju Yunchan sneered. Luo Fengtian nodded. Dong Mingsong felt this was strange. It was that punk? Dong Mingsong curled his lips when he remembered how Su Ping left the office calmly as if nothing had happened. It took Dong Mingsong great effort to invite those students there, but they had been defeated by Su Ping at the gate. Well, Ju Yunchan was fuming with anger. Dong Mingsong felt embarrassed. He was aware of Su Ping's strength. He could kill an 8-rank magical corpse beast. Beating up a few students was nothing for him. Dong Mingsong was delighted to notice that, according to Luo Fengtian's description, Su Ping's Inferno Dragon had reached adulthood. Was that true? The last time he saw the Inferno Dragon, it was still in its infancy. Just as he had expected, the master training behind Su Ping was outstanding. That being said, for the Inferno Dragon to grow from infancy to adulthood within such a short time was too quick. Even top-level master trainers wouldn't have achieved this unless they forced the pet to grow. Such actions could enhance the pet's abilities quickly, but in the long term, that would be more harmful than beneficial. While feeling sorry for the Inferno Dragon, Dong Mingsong was asking himself, why would Su Ping accelerate the growth of his Inferno Dragon? Could it be that, while he claimed he was not going to participate in the Elite League, he would sign up secretly? This thought made Dong Mingsong happy again. Ju Yunchan and Luo Fengtian and the other students were staring at Dong Mingsong, hoping to get information about this person out of him. What confused them was the changes in Dong Mingsong's expressions after he heard Luo Fengtian's story. Sometimes, Dong Mingsong would frown while deep in thought, the next moment he would appear to be sorry, but right after, he would be all smiles. This diversified variety of expressions freaked them out. "What are you thinking about?" Ju Yunchan was angry. He was afraid that this old fox was up to no good. Dong Mingsong came back to his senses. He realized he had forgotten himself. "I am sorry. Something came to my mind and I lost myself in thought." "Well, I know who you're talking about. He is not Yi Hong." "Yes, this is the point. He is not named Yi Hong." "What?" Ju Yunchan frowned. "His name is Su Ping," Dong Mingsong answered with a laugh. "Actually, he is not of our academy. To be more specific, he's not our student, but an advanced teacher we invited. I know he has an Inferno Dragon. So, you're probably talking about him." "Su Ping?" Ju Yunchan, Luo Fengtian, Dai Yang, and everyone else committed this name to their memories to replace the name Yi Hong. "His name is Su Ping." Luo Fengtian's eyes flickered. He would never forget this name. The middle-aged man who was standing right behind the couch Ju Yunchan sat on suddenly asked Dong Mingsong with a sullen look, "Vice Principal, did you say he's a teacher?" Dong Mingsong was surprised by this question. He looked at this man and said, "You must be Director Fei Yanbo. I've heard so much about you. Nice to meet you." Fei Yanbo replied to this greeting but shifted back to his question, "Vice Principal Dong, you did say this person is a teacher, right?" "Yes." Dong Mingsong nodded. "We could let it go if he were a student. We could admit we were inferior. But as a teacher, how can he bully students? This is not right." Fei Yanbo stated. Dong Mingsong understood what Fei Yanbo was referring to at once. Director Fei, all this is a big misunderstanding. Besides, your students were the ones in his way. You started it. Fei Yanbo looked awful. That was the truth. They were the ones in Su Ping's way. However, wasn't Su Ping too violent? He did not only beat up Dai Yang, who stirred up this trouble, he had also seriously wounded Xiong Lei's clawed golden bear. How could Xiong Lei participate in the match? Zhu Yunchan knitted his eyebrows together. Dong, you cannot put it this way. Our students were just making inquiries and he hurt us without a reason. That is too violent. It isn't proper for you to have a teacher like this to teach your students. Besides, he was the one that attacked us first and fighting was wrong in itself. You must solve this matter. I do not ask for more. A face-to-face apology should be okay. I am not asking for too much. Chapter 138, A Solution. Dong Mingsong didn't fully agree with him. We decide what kind of teacher will give lectures. Zhu, you've gone too far. Dong Mingsong sounded stern and harsh. Besides, he is our advanced teacher. Your students offended him. To teach them a lesson was not out of line. I wouldn't have said a word if Director Fei were to teach our students a lesson if they offended you. Zhu Yunchan didn't expect that Dong Mingsong would be so protective of his teacher. Fei Yanbo pulled a long face. He was burning with rage inside. However, since Dong Mingsong was an 8th-rank master battle pet warrior, Fei Yanbo was afraid to argue with him. Luo Fengtian and the other students knew they had to suffer this humiliation by the looks of it. They didn't know that it was a teacher, not a student, the one they had challenged, and an advanced teacher at that, just like Director Fei Yanbo. A person of their same age. The fact that he was an advanced teacher was unbelievable. But they could understand why that person was an advanced teacher considering his strength and that horrifying inferno dragon. Zhu Yunchan wasn't happy. Dong, I understand that you want to save some grace. However, your Phoenix Peak Academy invited us to come here for an academic exchange. Yet, you sent out an advanced teacher to hurt our students. If word of this got out, this would be more humiliating for you than losing the game, right? Dong Mingsong was taken aback by this remark. If people were to spread vicious gossip about this event, this could exert an adverse impact on the academy. The audience was never in the mood to find out about the truth. The event just appeared that Su Ping, the advanced teacher, had beaten up students from another academy. This point alone could invite accusations. Dong Mingsong answered after a moment of silence, how about this? He is giving a lecture right now. When he finishes, I will get him here to apologize to you. Zhu Yunchan was less angry when he heard this. How long before his lecture ends? He asked. Dong Mingsong looked at the time and answered, soon. His lecture ends at 4. The others nodded and waited patiently. Soon, it was after 4 in the afternoon. Dong Mingsong called Su Ping at once. Sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service. Dong Mingsong knew why that was, he must have turned off his phone since he was lecturing. Zhu Yunchan nodded. He could understand this. Dong Mingsong then called Feng Yangjing at once and told him to ask the teacher in charge of maintaining order at the lecture hall to tell Su Ping to come to the office. A few minutes later, Feng Yangjing got back to Dong Mingsong. Vice Principal, I called the lecture hall, and they said, Mr. Su had already left on his bike. Dong Mingsong was speechless. He didn't turn the volume of his phone up. However, since everyone in the room was a battle pet warrior with acute hearing, they had heard Feng Yangjing's embarrassing words. They looked at each other. Nobody knew how to react. What the hell? When they heard the words on his bike, Luo Fengtian and the other students were sure that it was indeed the person they were looking for. They produced some forced smiles. Well, Dong Mingsong came back to his senses. He also felt awkward. Zhu, now. Zhu Yunchan curled his lips. They had been waiting there for a long time, and that guy had left on his bike, leaving them hanging there. To make it worse, Su Ping didn't do this knowingly. He had no idea many people were waiting for him. Zhu Yunchan said grumpily, don't you have any other means to contact him? Dong Mingsong knew Su Ping must have gone back to his store. However, there was a scary presence in that small store. Dong Mingsong would never have the courage to take this group there to seek redress. Besides, considering how vulnerable Ju Yunchan and those students were, taking them to Su Ping's store would harm them. This was putting their finger in the fire. Since he thought he and Ju Yunchan shared some friendly relationship, Dong Mingsong suggested, "No. He will turn his phone on at night, I suppose. I will call him to apologize to you, okay?" Ju Yunchan snorted. "Apologizing over the phone? We will let it slip today. He has to come to school tomorrow, right? The matches will last till tomorrow. We will wait for him here." Dong Mingsong cleared his throat. "He won't come because he has no class tomorrow." Ju Yunchan was furious. "Then call him to get him here." "Fine, sure. I'll ask him to come and apologize in person." "Okay." Dong Mingsong had no other choice but to agree. Ju Yunchan groaned. "Now, take us to the venue. By the way, let me see how powerful your champion Yi Hao is." Dong Mingsong detected the anger in those words. He told himself bitterly that Ju Yunchan was transferring his anger to Yi Hao. It seemed that the exchange would be fierce this time. That being said, he wasn't nervous. He was glad about this. He wasn't afraid of losing the match as long as his students stood to gain. Learning was the best award. After all, during matches between academies like this, fatal incidents would not occur. However, when the students went off to the uncultivated lands, the beasts would not show them any mercy. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Su Ping rode his bike on campus, humming some songs. He was riding out of the campus to get back home. Having finished the lecture, he could go back and train the pets. Soon, he arrived at the store. The first thing he did was to select another group of pets for the dummy trainer. Then, he placed the trained pets into the training space. Having finished this work, Su Ping sat down and practiced the basic augmentation skills while waiting for business. His major clients were still those from the Phoenix Peak Academy. Since the time was still around school hours, business slowed down and would only ramp up when school was over. Su Ping stopped after a while. Taking advantage of this time, he went back to the Dragon King's heritage ground to cultivate. He stayed there for a day and achieved some progress. When he came back to the store, it was 5 in the afternoon. Students were going to show up soon. He sat down, turned on his phone and resumed his cultivation as he waited for customers. Not long after, his phone began to ring. Su Ping picked it up. He was surprised that it was Dong Mingsong who was calling him. "Is something wrong, Vice Principal Dong?" On the other side, Dong Mingsong was relieved that the call went through. Sulking, he said, "Who gave you the courage to ask me about what is wrong? Don't you know you have gotten into trouble today?" He sounded quite serious, as if Su Ping had committed heinous crimes. "I don't know." Su Ping was confused. Dong Mingsong didn't know what to say. Su Ping had not taken this seriously even though he was using a severe tone of voice. He tried to remind Su Ping, "Do you not know what you did by the gate today?" Su Ping answered, "Someone was in my way. I asked them to step aside. That was it." Dong Mingsong almost lost grip of his phone. "You asked them to step aside? Did you need the Inferno Dragon to do that?" "About that. Well, they refused to listen to my human words, so I had no other choice but to let my pets communicate with them," Su Ping argued. Dong Mingsong forced a bitter smile. He could tell that Su Ping was unhappy. After all, he once fought in the uncultivated lands. Naturally, he wasn't a mild pushover. Dong Mingsong explained, "Those people came because I invited them to battle with our students and exchange knowledge. They want you to apologize because you beat up their students. I know this wasn't your fault, but when word gets out, this can be a negative press for the academy. So, if you are free tomorrow, you'd better drop by the academy and say some polite words to them so they can have a nice way out." Su Ping raised his eyebrows. Going back to the academy? That trip would cost him an hour. "If that's the case, I think you can apologize on my behalf." "Thank you, Vice Principal." Su Ping laughed. Dong Mingsong sounded helpless. "I would have if I could. A few words of apology won't do me any harm. But they insisted on you coming. I have no other choice." Su Ping was speechless. He had just resolved one trouble, and that trouble's teacher was just around the corner. So many ***y businesses. Fine. I will find some time to go there. Right, how about you ask them to come to my store? Su Ping suddenly had an idea. Dong Mingsong was freaked out. He turned Su Ping down at once. No, no, no. This is just a trivial matter. We don't need to make a big scene. Just stop by, and it'll be fine. I'm okay with you coming here. I cannot do that. I cannot. If you say so. The call ended. Su Ping knew he had to go to the academy again tomorrow. Then, gradually, students began to show up. Su Ping calmed himself down to cheat them out of their money, to tend to their needs. Some were there to pick up their pets, and some were there to train their pets. Su Ping noticed that the number of students that day was small. Most of the students were familiar ones that had come to pick up their pets. Is there anything happening in school today? Su Ping grabbed a student and asked. He remembered the exchange Dong Songming mentioned. Were all the students joining in the exchange? The boy was flattered to answer Su Ping's question. He was a frequent customer, having gone there 3 times already. His pet was of the 3rd rank, and he only needed to pay 10,000 for each training. Otherwise, he might not have enough money to go there so many times. The 3 training rounds had amazed him. With the help of the pet's progress, his combat strength had been enhanced greatly. As a result, he was considered among the best students in his class at the moment. He scorned the negative rumors about Su Ping's lectures spreading on campus that day. He regarded the people saying those rumors as fools. However, he didn't argue with them because he was more of a calculating, not openly confronting type. Due to the negative rumors, some people were speaking ill of Su Ping and as a result, began to dislike Su Ping's store, claiming it was a place Su Ping used to cheat people out of their money. The boy was filled with mixed feelings. While he was cross with those insinuations, he was happy inside. He was secretly happy that if fewer people were to go to Su Ping's store, then the queuing time would naturally be less. What a huge benefit this was for him. As a hardcore fan, the boy could only watch helplessly as the others scolded Su Ping, or maybe, he could grumble for Su Ping's sake for a bit in his mind. Chapter 139, All Lost? Well, Professor, there's a pet contest going on at the academy. It's us against someone from the Berserking Blade Academy. But today's matches are already finished. If you want, you can go and watch tomorrow. They scheduled better matches for later. If I remembered right, Yi Hao's game is scheduled tomorrow as well. So, today's lineup is done. Then why are there so few students coming? Su Ping wondered. Anything else I should know? No, Professor. Su Ping frowned and sent the student away. The shop received a few more customers who either came to take their pets away or to have the pets further trained. Like usual, Su Ping waited until 10:30 at night, dispatched several dummy trainers to take care of more pets, and went home. There was only Su Lingyu waiting in the living room that day. Their mother was nowhere to be seen. Where is? Su Lingyu glanced at Su Ping and stopped her cultivation. You were taking too long, so I told her to sleep first. Your dinner's in the kitchen. Throw it in the oven and eat yourself. Su Ping nodded and did so. It seemed there were a good number of varieties left for him that day. After carrying his meal to the table, Su Lingyu also joined him after fetching some water. Do you still have that Inferno Dragon? Su Lingyu asked first. What, you want to look at it too? That was indeed what Su Lingyu wanted, but she no longer felt like it when Su Ping mentioned it like that. No, I don't care. It's just an Inferno Dragon. There are loads of pictures on the internet. Okay. Su Lingyu rolled her eyes. Did you hear about the pet contest at the academy today? Su Ping mumbled something without looking up from his food. I have a match tomorrow afternoon. Will you come and watch? Aren't you a first grader? What's wrong with being a first grader? I'm the champion of my year. So, is the match like, for educational purposes? It's a friendly competition between academies, knucklehead. Him. Su Lingyu gave up and stomped her way upstairs. Hold up, Su Ping called her. What do you want? Just come here, Su Ping beckoned. Su Lingyu frowned and decided to listen to him though she truly didn't want to. Whatever. If you have something to say, be quick about it. Can you be a little more friendly at least? Su Ping shook his head and channeled some astral power into the water barrier around his body. The barrier quickly shrank smaller until it became a translucent sphere floating in front of him. What's that? Su Lingyu went wide-eyed upon seeing the sphere. This is aquatic blessing, a tool used for protection. Su Ping handed the sphere to his sister. You can use it during your match. Give it back once you're done. Su Ping had won this item by spending merit points he had earned during the Baron expedition. This item was potent enough to deflect most attacks of the 8th rank or below. Still, it was of little use to him when he spent most of his time at the shop. A barrier item? Su Lingyu twiddled the water orb in awe. How did you get this thing? Do you have to ask? Just return it if you don't want it. Neither of them felt bothered by their unfriendly conversation, since this was their bread and butter these days. Su Lingyu smiled slightly. Since you sincerely meant to give me a gift, I'll accept it. I'm letting you borrow it. For a day. HMPH. Not like I need it. Of course Su Lingyu wasn't going to give up the item too early. She had never seen something so interesting before, and she would love to have some fun playing with it. How do I use it? Su Ping gave her an impatient glance and explained how to properly use the item. Su Lingyu followed the instructions by sending her astral power inside the item. Soon, the orb expanded into a thin film made out of water elements, which clasped against her skin like a sunscreen. It felt chilly at first, but was soon warmed up by her body so she could no longer feel it. The barrier almost had no weight by itself and it didn't obstruct the airflow. If she wanted, she could forget about such an extra protection guarding her body. Su Ping made such a decision after what had happened during the day. He feared that those rival students would vent out their grudges against other students of the Phoenix Peak Academy, which meant his sister was not safe. Good night then. Su Ping cleaned up his plates and went to his room without saying anything else. Su Lingyu wanted to ask him about his sudden generosity, but she didn't do it in the end. The next morning, Su Lingyu and Su Ping had their meals in complete silence and went their separate ways, like always. Some of the waiting customers seemed to be in a big hurry that day. After thanking Su Ping for improving their pets so greatly, they immediately left for the academy without looking back. Tang Lang, who was waiting at the tail of the line, saw all the students leaving and asked with a strange look, "Mr. Su, why are these people all calling you a professor? You teach them classes?" "Yeah. Are you going to leave your winged beast for training again?" Tang Lang nodded with a surprised look. "Wait, you are a professor? But you're no older than me, right?" "What do you mean by that? You look too old anyway. I'm only 18, at the prime of my bright life." Tang Lang checked Su Ping's face carefully and noticed that he indeed had much room for growth. In a good way. Wait, did he just call me old? Being 21 isn't old. Come on, pay up. Su Ping waved a hand impatiently. That'll be 100,000, again. Tang Lang made the transfer while his face twitched in awkwardness. At least he would admit that hiring Su Ping's services was completely worth it. After all the training, his winged beast had gotten almost as strong as his best pet. Previously, he thought about sharing the shop's address with his friends, but later decided not to, after seeing how crowded this place could get each day. If he could, he would have already booked the entire shop for his own use. For the moment, Tang Lang decided to wait until his pets received enough training, before reporting his new discovery to his seniors and teachers. By then, he'd be way ahead of them. Su Ping took the winged beast to the pet room, summoned a dummy trainer to take care of it, and entered the Dragon King Heritage Ground again, since not many people would go there during this hour of the day. Even without using any force pellets, the battles and explorations he went through recently still boosted his astral power potential at an amazing speed. Right this moment, he was almost at the upper 4th rank. When it was past lunchtime, he remembered Su Lingyue's match and Dong Mingsong's message, so he made up his mind to check out the academy unwillingly. On his way, he headed to a grocery store to buy something he might use later. The damaged floor in front of the academy had already been fixed. Though this was nothing special since the academy was rich enough to hire their own repairmen. He took out his phone and called the vice principal. Hello? Mr. Dong. I'm at the gate of the academy right now. Where do I find those guys you mentioned? Dong Mingsong's end sounded rather noisy at the moment, so the old man was speaking in a loud voice. He sounded displeased about something, too. We're at Stadium 1. Come quickly, the finals are about to begin. The finals? Didn't Su Lingyu tell me that her match would be at around this hour? If the finals are starting, did she finish already? Confused, Su Ping rode faster. Thankfully, he knew his way around the academy pretty well by then. Stadium 1 was the biggest facility in the entire academy, which was large enough to house 100,000 people. Unlike what he had imagined, he didn't hear any cheering or yelling noises coming from the building. Instead, it was quiet, except for occasional clashing sounds that suggested someone was fighting. He entered the building and saw almost all the seats taken. And yet, the grim atmosphere in the stadium didn't properly reflect the number of spectators. He looked further ahead and saw a familiar black pit dragon currently displaying its dominance on the central stage, while it kept its opponent Yi Hao's thunder basilisk pinned under a claw. Apparently, the final match of the contest had almost reached a conclusion. An unfavorable one. Su Ping wasn't too concerned about Yi Hao's defeat since that black pit dragon was clearly deadlier than the thunder basilisk in many aspects. Hey, he asked a random onlooker closest to him. Is Su Lingyue's match over? The addressed man responded in an unpleasant tone without looking at him, it's done. Everyone's freaking done. Damn it. What's the result? What do you mean result? Why the foo *K do we have to compete with these psychos? This is nuts. Su Ping frowned and checked where Su Lingyue's class was seated, but without finding her. She should be fine with the aquatic blessing protecting her. Right? To be safe, he still headed there to ask about his sister. Chapter 140, My Sister. Like most people at the stadium, Su Lingyue's classmates were all focused on the stage below without noticing someone was coming. Su Ping found a random girl and tapped her shoulder. Where's Su Lingyu? The girl was startled by the sudden question, and was startled for a second time when she recognized who was talking. Professor. Similar to her friends, she quite respected this new teacher who had made quite a name in the academy recently, and she felt flustered when Su Ping was speaking to her so close. Su Ping saw more people looking his way in excitement and didn't want to make a scene. He asked again, Tell me, where is Su Lingyu? Miss Su has been sent to the sick room. The sick room? Su Ping scowled. Is she hurt? Will it be all right? I don't know. Professor Cheng mentioned something about a spiritual attack. We won't know anything before a doctor checks her out. Su Ping clenched his fists. There was a big flaw about the aquatic blessing, that it had completely no effect against spiritual attacks. Spiritual attacks were dangerous. They were harder to prevent compared to ordinary ways of attacking. The victim could easily suffer dementia or brain death. Which way to the sick room? He asked. Are you going to there's a temporary one inside the stadium for emergencies. Use that medical hallway over there. The girl pointed the way. Following her hint, Su Ping saw an improvised shed just beside the battle stage. There were several people in doctor uniforms on standby. Thanks. Like a flash of lightning, Su Ping dashed to the edge of the audience area and jumped off. Below the edge was a path for doctors and fighters to conveniently reach the stage at the center. There, Su Ping saw Dong Mingsong and their rivals watching. Though he wasn't planning on greeting them, he went straight to the medical access. Hey you can't go in there. A doctor watching the path stopped him. Su Ping glanced at the man. I'm a professor. I'm allowed inside, right? Professor? Please don't joke at such a wait. Are you Professor Su Ping? Yes. I'm sorry. Please come in. After Su Ping went further inside, another doctor came with a worried look. You can't let someone, who's this Professor Su Ping? Gods. You should spend more time outside your lab. He's the new advanced teacher employed by the academy. Do you know he has an inferno dragon as his pet? This means he's a guaranteed titled battle pet warrior if nothing goes wrong. An inferno dragon? Pulling my leg, are you? Is there such an extraordinary specimen in Longjiang City at all? Well, that's what the students have been saying these days anyway. Further inside the path, Su Ping made a quick turn and saw someone he recognized waiting outside a unit. It was Cheng Shuanglin, Su Lingyue's teacher, and the one who showed him to the vice principals last time. Professor Cheng. Su Ping quickly headed her way. Cheng Shuanglin had been lost in thought. She jumped upon hearing Su Ping's voice. Su, why are you here? I didn't hear you coming at all. Never mind that. Su Ping checked the sealed door behind her. Is Su Lingyu in there? Is she okay? Su Lingyu? Oh, the result just came in. The doctor said that the attack almost reached her hippocampus, but it didn't, which is lucky for us. Otherwise, she would experience loss of memory, or worse, mental disorder. This is all thanks to her Phoenix Call technique. Thank goodness she improved it to the 4th rank. Su Ping's expression softened. This meant there was no permanent harm done. Can you tell me what exactly happened to her? You care about her, Mr. Su? She's my sister. I see. Cheng Shuanglin shook her head. To think both children in your family were so brilliant. Next, Cheng Shuanglin explained what she had seen with a serious look. She already felt that Su Ping wasn't as calm as he appeared to be. Her opponent couldn't get through her defense, so he ordered his pet to use a spiritual impalement skill, which knocked Miss Su out. Su Ping's expression froze out of too much shock. His generous gift was meant to assist Su Lingyu. But it caused the opposite. Without the aquatic blessing, Su Lingyu would have lost the match earlier without receiving all the extra damage. A doctor showed up from the door next to them and spoke to Cheng Shuanglin. Miss Su is awake, and there isn't anything we can't handle. Rest at ease, Director Cheng. Cheng Shuanglin breathed a sigh of relief and thanked the doctor. So did Su Ping. She may go home. But please make sure she doesn't get affected by any spirit-related shocks in the near future. Of course, Cheng Shuanglin quickly nodded. When the doctor went away, Su Ping immediately entered the unit room and saw his sister resting peacefully, while subconsciously stroking the fur of her phantom flame beast. Oh, it's you, she saw Su Ping and blushed due to both rage and embarrassment. What do you want? Well, at least her head is totally fine. Su Ping thought, before speaking, I'm just checking out your coal ball. She's Snowball. Su Lingyu retorted. Su Ping was glad that his sister still had the strength to argue with him. Miss Cheng, I'll leave her in your care for now. Can you make sure she doesn't run off? Cheng Shuanglin looked surprised by that. Are these two always like this? Su Lingyu tossed a pillow at Su Ping after hearing those words. Though the pillow almost hit Cheng Shuanglin instead, as Su Ping had already left. Ah! Professor, I didn't mean it. That guy was spouting nonsense. Cheng Shuanglin smiled back at her. Are you feeling okay? Well, the doctor said you should be fine. I still want to know how you feel. There's nothing, really. Just a bit wobbly. Your brother is a professor, here? Why didn't you tell me earlier? I didn't mean to hide it, Professor. You just saw what he's like. I don't want to call that as **** brother. Cheng Shuanglin frowned, for she just noticed something more complicated buried deep down inside Su Ping's personality just then. That careless attitude was a facade. He cares about you. See, he came to check on your health. Su Lingyu wasn't convinced, for she thought that was only an act of kindness to comfort her. Professor? How is the contest going? Did Yi Hao's match end yet? Oh, I can hear it from the crowd. He must still be fighting. Though I can't tell you about the match. You know, I can't leave your side. Su Lingyu quickly sat up. Let's hurry there then. Maybe we can still watch the game. I want to watch it. Cheng Shuanglin chose to let her since the doctor had already allowed her to leave the bed as long as she didn't do anything too straining. With Cheng Shuanglin supporting Su Lingyu with an arm, they both headed outside.